So now that you know what most things mean on the screen, you know how to use your camera, you know how to check your status, the last thing really is these settings right here. Now, there are a lot of settings within here. A lot of them are a little more advanced. So I'm again going to show you just the basics to get you going. So you can see there's different tabs up and down here. So we're going to start off up top. Now, here's an option called beginner mode. Beginner mode, you can turn on. It sets a maximum altitude for you and a maximum distance, and it won't let you go any further or any higher. So if you feel uncomfortable with how far you might be taking it or how high, feel free to put beginner mode on or off, whatever you decide. But if you put it on, it's going to restrict you to whatever you put right here. Okay, so let's see. Gain and expo turning. This is, again, something you don't really want to mess with. See, I mean, it's just advanced. Well, I'll put mine back. Okay. Advanced settings. Now, like I said, there's a lot in here. You can look at fail-safe mode, and you're going to see your return to home altitude. So this is when your drone needs to return home, it doesn't know where obstacles are. So DJI made this setting so you can go to a high enough point where you can just fly over everything. So if you need to, fly over trees, you set your return to home altitude so it's higher than the trees. This way, it automatically goes up and over for you, and then it will lower and land once it is directly over your home point. So you can set to whatever altitude you'd like. It is in meters for this. So go ahead and do that. Signal lost, you can choose what you want. I want mine to return home. And let's see. Turn on arms LED light. Yes, you always want that on. Especially at night, you want to be able to see status indicators, and it helps to see where it is. And then enable vision positioning system. This is perfect for indoors. You want this on when you're indoors. I fly over water a lot, and sometimes this causes issues. So I personally just keep it off when I'm flying outside. Okay, so that's most everything for you in here. I guess you go to sensors, and it's going to show you everything. And this is how you would calibrate that IMU if you ever needed it. So not something you need right away. The next part, we're going to go to the controller. RC settings. So you can actually choose your gimbal wheel speed, and your gimbal wheel speed is going to be how fast or slow you have the camera move up and down. So you can play with this, not super important, so don't worry. RC calibration. This is something that if you ever need to calibrate the remote control, you can do, but as it's showing, you cannot be connected to the aircraft. You actually need to turn your drone off. Stick mode, this is showing you the different modes. Like I said, I'm in mode 2, this is what we're using. You can make your own, you can use others, but mode 2 is the default one, and I think the most natural and easiest, and I personally say stick with this until you're more comfortable. I'm very comfortable with my drone, and I don't think I'm ever going to change out of this mode. Okay, so on your controller, you have 2 buttons that you can customize to do pretty much anything. And this is going to give you an option of all the different things you can do. I personally like having my camera up and down, so it quickly goes down and up. And then the other one shows my camera settings, like the ISO and shutter speed, so I can quickly access it, and it just helps to be able to access things quickly without having to necessarily look at your screen or think about what to do. So whatever you feel like is going to work best for you, go ahead and do that. Okay, next thing. Image transmission setting. I have never, ever, ever touched anything in here. As you can see, it might be a little advanced for you. Don't worry about it. Just leave it just how it is. It should be totally fine. Again, if you're interested later on, you can totally go look at this later. There's nothing you truly need to do before you fly. This is your battery status. So right now, my battery life overall, this is not my battery life before the battery dies for this flight. This is my overall health of my battery. I've charged this particular battery 21 times, and it has 96% of its original life left. and it will show you voltage. And then right here you can also put when you want to be told the low battery when you're flying, and when it's critical, and when it's critical you want to get back. So 10% and 30% are pretty good markers. I do suggest that. Time to discharge. I have mine set for 1 day because these batteries, their health actually declines when they are fully charged. As you can see, mine's already gone down 4%. So sometimes I charge my batteries and I'm gonna go fly, and then something happens, I don't fly. I don't want to have my battery sitting there for a few days or a week until the next time I fly, so I just have it discharged within a day. So that way it doesn't ruin my batteries. And you can make this, you can totally make this, I think it goes to 10 days. So whatever works best for you. Next tab is your gimbal settings. So gimbal mode is in follow. That's what you're just gonna want when you begin. There's another setting called FPV. Not something you probably want in the beginning. So again, play with these settings, but for right now you just want follow. Camera forward or down. You can't see it, but my camera went straight down, so it's looking at the carpet in the background here. And if I hit it again, it's gonna go back to the blinds. So that's just the way to show you how to do it. Like I said, I have one of my buttons customized to do this, so I don't have to go to this menu to do it like that. You can adjust your gimbal roll. You can auto calibrate your gimbal if there's any issues. Advanced settings, let's look in here. This is all stuff that I have also never touched. So again, do not worry about it, but I just wanted to make you aware that it's there if you ever need to customize anything or look at any other setting. So our last tab in here is our general settings. So right here is our units of measurement. I'm in the US and I use feet, so I have chosen imperial. If you're outside the US, you might want to be using metric. Other things in here that are important, show flight route. Yes, this is very helpful. It's not necessary, but it's very helpful to see where you've flown if you want to, fly back on the same route. It's also helpful to see where you're pointing. It's something that I definitely prefer, and I do use a lot to keep track of where I am and where I'm going. Okay, so cache map in the background. This is something I definitely like, because if you ever fly anywhere where you don't have service, your map may not load. And this isn't a huge issue, but I personally like to have my map. It's kind of like a safety blanket for me. So, for instance, I went to go fly somewhere in Canada, and I knew I wasn't going to have service because my phone was going to be in airplane mode. So what I did was I went onto the map through the app right here, and I zoomed up to the place where I was going to be flying. So that way, when I got to Canada, my maps were already loaded because they were cached into the app. So this was great because then I had my maps even though I didn't have service. So this is always a helpful thing, just to have maps preloaded just by looking at them on your screen. So that's pretty good. In here, there's not too much, just some general stuff. If you do feel like you need to know more about the app or you're confused, please turn on tutorial. They will go through and give you some more explanation on some of the settings. It's not nearly as in-depth as I've gotten, but it's definitely great if you feel like you just want a little more information. So that pretty much does it for everything you need. Most of the things I showed you, you don't even need. But that was a little bit of some basic settings. So remember, when you're flying, this is what you're seeing, everything right here. So get more familiar with everything here. There's not much you need to click on here. It's just stuff to keep you informed of what's going on. The one thing that you will click on is before you fly, you'll probably check your indicator, and you might click on it and see what's happening in here. And while you're flying, you might be clicking on your camera settings if you want to change it, or you might be choosing your menu and changing what type of shot you're taking. But honestly, I don't click on these very much. It's very rare that I do this. I'm usually always taking video And if I am taking a photo, I just take a quick shot because the quality has been so good with these drones. It's great. So don't worry about this, especially your first few times. You'll be good to go, but just realize that they're there if you ever need more options with the camera. And then up here, these are like your big main settings for the drone. You don't need them when you're flying. Check them out sometime, get familiar with them, but there's nothing you really need in there to fly. So that kind of wraps up the app. I know it's a little overwhelming and confusing, but soon it will all make sense and you'll be very happy that it gives you so much information and the ability to customize. So go ahead and take a peek through, get familiar, and you will be flying soon.